Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our first college and career exploration panel of the summer, Navigating College During the Pandemic. My name is Jessica Torres, and I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator for Families and Schools. At Families and Schools, we involve families and communities in their children's education to achieve lifelong success, and we do this through advocacy, professional development for educators, and community engagement programs such as this one, Passport to Success. So first off, I would like to say thank you to this amazing group and to all the students and families who will be joining us this summer for our Passport to Success College Career Edition campaign. We are so excited to have you. This campaign encourages students living in California in grades 5 through 12 to explore college and career opportunities during the summer. Students who register, complete, and turn in the workbook will be eligible for one of 5 $1,000 scholarships. If you would like to learn more and register, feel free to visit bit.ly/PTS Scholar. And now I'd like to introduce our moderator, Mireyari Pacheco. Families and Schools has known Mireyari and her 2 younger sisters since 2015 as a longtime participant in many of our programs. She recently graduated from the Navy Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps and is a 2021 high school graduate from Reseda Charter High School. Mireyari will be starting college at Sonoma State University this coming fall. Congratulations to you, Mireyari. We are so happy to have you leading today's panel. As a recent high school student, you're the right person to lead this discussion, and we look forward to an engaging conversation. So thank you so much. And now I'd like to hand it over to Mireyari.
Hi, my name is Mireyari Pacheco. As Jessica said, I just graduated this year, 2021. I will be going to Sonoma State University this fall, and I would like to pass it on to our panelists that we will be having today.
So hello everyone. So my name is Anthony Chavez. I'm the first panelist here. And so I'm a recent graduate from the University of California, Berkeley, class of 2021. I majored in molecular and cell biology. And so I hope to one day enter medical school in the hopes of becoming a neurosurgeon. I also work for CalSOAP, the California Student Opportunity and Access Program, where I help mentor and guide students with the college application process, the college journey, and provide my experiences to students about what it's like to be a college student and all the different parts of that college that college journey. And so, yeah, my free time, I love listening to 80s music. So, it feels great, having graduated. So I'm excited here. So I'll pass it on to the next panelist.
Hi everyone, my name is Alyssa Ibarrola, and I just want to first congratulate Mireyari and Anthony on graduating. That is such an amazing accomplishment, and I'm just so excited for them, and I just met them. But a little bit about me, I'm an upcoming sophomore. I go to Mount St. Mary's University, and I'm studying nursing, hopefully to become a nurse in the future. I'm also involved in this group called First Gen Empower, which is a nonprofit organization that provides high quality, accessible information about financial aid, career resources, anything around that realm, anything about for high school students upon what they want to do in their future. So I'm really excited to just share my experience and hopefully help some of you guys.
The first question that we will start off with is, I would like first to ask our panelists whether they attended school online or in person.
Oh, you can go first, Alyssa.
Oh, well, I like I said before, I'm a sophomore, so my whole entire first year of college was through the pandemic, so I haven't had that first year in-person college experience, unfortunately. But yeah, so most of my schooling was online.
So for me, also similar to Alyssa, I'm a community college student who transferred to UC Berkeley. So my first year at UC Berkeley was in person because this was before the pandemic. And then my during the middle of that first year, that's when the pandemic hit, and so I went home. And so fast forward to my senior year, starting my senior year, fall of 2020, everything was online. But I moved to UC Berkeley anyway because of a program that I was part of there, the Biology Scholars Program. So I was, even though I moved there, everything was still virtual. So yeah, for me, everything was on Zoom as well.
I would also like to add, my last year of high school was also virtually. It started during the pandemic. I started virtually learning half of my semester of junior year, and I went off to senior year, and everything became virtually. And now, since everything is lifting up, I was able to have an in-person graduation, not virtually. The next question we will be having is, thinking back to last year, what has been the most difficult part about being in college during the pandemic? Alyssa, would you like to start?
Yeah, of course. So, being in a pandemic and then starting my first year of college, there are so many unexpected challenges that I face. One being that I had a lot of financial issues, like my heater broke down, my washing machine broke down, my fridge broke down, and on top of that, I also got COVID with my family. So there was a lot of problems that I had to face with my family, and a lot of being able to touch bases and communicate how we would overcome them. And on like the icing on top was that I had to focus on my academics, and since I had like a lot of science courses, I had to be prepared to take those courses and succeed in them. So how I was able to overcome these challenges was really create like a foundational communication line with my family and being able to talk to them about expenses. Like, fortunately for me, my sister was able to help out with some of the expenses since we didn't have like our washing machine or fridge broke, so it's like it built up. But by talking to each other, we were able to get that handled. I also took up a job, which kind of took off some stress off my parents since I was able to pay off some of my own things and like pay for like my dog's food and little things like that. And for school, to make sure that I was okay academically. For the first semester, actually, like I was alone and I didn't really have like that study buddy or anyone to help me accountable. But I was still able to manage. But in the second semester, that's when I actually started to reach out to people, and I actually found someone to help me be in line with my academics and be like keep each other accountable and help each other out. So
Right. So for me, I would say that the most challenging part of during the pandemic while I was in university was the Zoom burnout. And what Zoom burnout is a lot of college students experience. A lot of students experience this was when they're spending most of the day on the computer because classes are virtual, so they're on the computer, and you're just spending there most of the day because, like for me, for example, my classes were back to back. So some days I would have 4 hours in total of classes. So that would mean I'd just be on the computer for those 4 hours. And then adding on to that, like after that, since I like to study like right after my classes, since most of my stuff is on the computer. So 4 hours plus maybe another 4 or 5 hours studying on the computer. So that caused burnout for me. And so what was difficult, another factor adding on to that was how I used to go to office hours every time before the pandemic, but it was just, I was so tired after, being on the computer most of the day. I just didn't feel, it was just too tiring for me to visit office hours, which was around 1 to 2 hours long. So because of that, because I didn't go to office hours as much, I kind of, I fell behind in my classes. There was a lot of content in my classes that I didn't understand because I didn't ask the questions to the I didn't ask my questions to the professors for clarification. So I did fall behind with that. But how I overcame that was I created I created a study schedule. Like I wrote it down. I The reason why I wrote it down is so that I can see it and so that I can follow through with it. So, for example, after like a class was done, after like a day was done with my classes, I would take like a 30-minute break, for example, get up, do something, and then after that, just go back to studying for a little bit, take a break, and then get back to it. So because of that, it really helped alleviate the Zoom burnout effect that I was feeling. So because I was feeling much better, I was able to, attend those office hours and get my questions answered. So that's how I overcame that particular challenge.
Alyssa, you mentioned you were having trouble finding a study buddy during your first year. How were you able to reach out to students in your class?
So actually, I'm kind of guilty because the friend, she actually reached out to me. So it wasn't actually me who initiated that conversation. But basically, um, during class, she, we were kind of vibed in like breakout rooms because sometimes when we were put in breakout rooms, we would be like silent, but like sometimes there's like that one person that actually talks back to you. So then she reached out and I was like, oh, hi, how's it going? And then we were able to connect, and we, before the next semester started, we're like, hey, you want to have the same classes together so we can help each other out? And that's how after that we were able to share Quizlets and say like, hey, can you do this study guide for this chapters and I'll do this study guide for this chapters. And then once we were finished doing that, we would come together like the day before an exam and look over all our resources that were put together. But of course, we're not perfect. We didn't do that for like every exam. We try to do that for like most exams and classes, but it really helped me stay on track and have my sanity, especially since, like what Anthony said, Zoom burnout is so real.
The following question would be, how did your parents or family members support you during this time? Anthony, would you like to start?
Sure. So I did struggle during the pandemic. For example, the fall of 2020, I was really struggling in my classes. Like, for example, this biology of human cancer class, it was extremely challenging. I just wasn't getting the results that I expected in my exams. It was just really tough to it was just really tough because I was scoring below the average, because in university, at least at UC Berkeley with the science classes, if you score around average or above average in the exams, then you're okay. You pass basically. But if you score below average, below the class average, then that means you're struggling. That means like, you're not understanding the content. And so even though I was studying for so long, I still wasn't understanding it. So because of that, and it was tough because I was over there at UC Berkeley. So just, you know, since it was really difficult to get in contact with like my friends, I reached out to my family. I talked to them, and what was really great was that they supported me by listening to what I was saying, hearing me out, hearing the issues that I was going through, especially with studying, like trying to figure out what was I doing wrong with studying. Was there an issue? Was there something that I was doing wrong that caused me to score below the average? So my family was also very positive, supportive towards me. What's it called? Positive affirmations, I believe, telling me that, I, like telling me, like not to be so hard on myself, that, this is during a pandemic, you made it to UC Berkeley, you just need to keep moving forward. And so because of that support that they gave me, like that positive encouragement, that really helped me, restore confidence in myself and to continue moving forward and continue adapting to the situation. So yeah, I talk to them about like every other day, sometimes every day. And so just that constant communication with them really, that was my support system, and along with those positive affirmations.
Okay. So for me, I lived at home during my first year of my college career. And since it was in the pandemic, my parents also worked at home. So they were always like in my field of vision. Sometimes it was a bit rough because we would clash schedules. Like she'd be like talking so loud to a coworker while I was in a meeting, or like my sister was in work and we share a room, so I had to take my laptop and run outside to like talk during a Zoom meeting. But after that initial phase of adjusting to the whole pandemic, I was able to like talk to my family about what schedule they have, like can you keep it down like at this time slot, and they were very accommodating to me and my sister. Well, I had to leave the room, but she had like she had to have her room because work, and she's like a new grad and she got that work. But anyways, but yeah, but they were supportive in similar to like Anthony. They just listened to me, and they listened to what they asked, like, what do you need? Like, I will accommodate. And I was like, I can accommodate to your schedule as well. But they were just so insisting and accommodating to me that I felt it put me in a good mentality and in a space where I could thrive and feel successful. So if you're moving in like dorming or anything, call your parents. I'm sure they'll appreciate it if you have that good relationship with them.
Thank you for sharing. The next question would be if you would like to share what are some pros and cons of going to school online versus in person. Alyssa, would you like to start?
So since I didn't really go to university in person, but I do have pros and cons like to of school online. So like some pros would be like I can be in bed while I'm in a Zoom class, and that's like so nice sometimes because that means I can get in more sleep. So that was really nice. But the con of that was I could clock out really easily. Zoom burnout. Like I'm in front of a screen this whole time. Like I'm consuming so much media that it just feels straining. So it's like so easy to like clock out of my class. So, but some other pros is that it's really easy to like attend like online events as well, despite like a lot of programs and services have been like offering workshops and making things much more accessible and easy to um, access as well. But yeah, and also some cons. Another con would be like not being able to meet people in real life and have that first year college experience, because I know we all want that first year college experience, possibly dorming, getting sushi or something late night studying and stuff like that. And it kind of sucks that I didn't do that like my first year. I'm hopeful that in the future it will happen one day. Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I would say the pros and cons of virtual and in person. So for the pros for in person, I mean, the pros for a virtual class is, like Alyssa said, I have the same thing as well. It's like very easy to jump on a class. Like for me, I don't have to wake up, like an hour early to, accommodate that walk to class. Because for me at UC Berkeley, it takes about 10 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes to walk to class. So I would have to get up extra early. But with the virtual setting, it's just right on the laptop. I could just wake up, get ready, and then just bam, right there. Open the laptop and then just listen to class, take notes right there in the comfort of my own desk. And so it was very, that's like a huge con, just everything simple, ready right there. Let's see. A con for that though, for virtual, is it's very easy for me to get distracted. So for example, I might be tired, right? So I'm just gonna take a break. And this has happened many times for me. I take a break. I say that I'm gonna take around a 10-minute break, and it ends up being a 2-hour break. So because I'm surfing the web, I'm on social media. So 10 minutes turns to 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. So that's like a huge con, which is the the possibility of becoming distracted is much higher. And then another thing too is that it's also, for me, it was it's very easy to not participate in class, to just, for example, have the camera off, for example, and then not be able to interact with others. So yeah, that's something that I noticed, that I observed. And so like with in person, the pro is that you're able to interact with others, you're able to see them, get to know them, interact with others, learn a lot of information, and as have that college experience. And a con for that too, for like an in-person class session, would probably be the time, the time it takes to walk to class, like for me, for example. So right, so both has its pros and cons. So yeah, that's what I experienced. Yeah, with like with the virtual, what I learned with with the virtual setting is that you have to be very, what's it called, very disciplined with yourself. If you are, then definitely I think that it would benefit, like how it benefited me at some points. Yeah.
Anthony, a follow-up question would be, when did you realize the negative sides, that you were being distracted during virtual learning to in-person learning?
Right. So when did I notice? So I began to notice that towards the middle of the semester, because for me, as the semester progresses on, I become tired. I get tired after studying a lot, and so when I do get more tired, I begin to I begin to become more distracted easily. So I lose focus more quickly. So instead of being able to study for like 4 hours, right, like in my schedule, it just, that completely breaks down into me, just going on YouTube, for example, and just looking up random videos. And so that's like, at that point was when I noticed that I was becoming distracted, because I was tired. And not just that, but also with the fact that I was on Zoom, I was on the computer most of the day, starting from the beginning of the semester, that began to wear on me. So compounding that with, studying for hours, that culminated into me becoming really tired towards the middle of the semester. And so that's when I noticed that, wait, I should be studying when I was on YouTube. So that's like, again, that's like in the middle of semester, I had that wake up call. Like I noticed that, wait, I am losing focus. I'm not following my schedule. So that's when I realized, I need to get back on track.
Alyssa, what is the difference when you had in-person learning with your teachers in high school to virtual learning with your teacher now?
Well, I feel like the person who I was in high school, I wasn't as motivated or as driven as I am in university. So I feel like that factor really played a role in what type of person, what type of learner I am now versus before. So in virtual learning, when I knew that when I went to university that I wanted to change some of those habits. So I made sure to write down office hours and actually attend them, and write down set up meetings with them and actually connect with my teachers, which helped me be more engaged in the content that they were teaching. Whereas in high school, like I didn't really care about the classes I was taking or the teachers much. I know there were some students who were really buddy with the teachers, but I was just like in the classroom and I was out, you know. But in comparison to like the online learning and in person, there is a really different dynamic in terms of like when we're in person, it's easy to talk to the professor more and ask questions because, and I'm sure the teacher feels this the same way because they can actually see the students in person, whereas virtually you can't. Most of the professors are just seeing like a name, initials and stuff. So there's like a better interaction when it was in person than online.
Thank you for sharing, both of you. The next question would be, thinking about a school year that has been unlike any other, what are some study habits or techniques that have helped you get through this school year?
So for me, so some study habits or techniques that really helped me get through the school year was it's a method. So there were two main methods. The first one is active studying. It's a concept that maybe some of you might have heard before. Basically, what it is, it's you're studying in a different way, and so I'll explain through examples. So, for example, first of all, there's two different types of studying techniques. One is active studying, and the other one is passive studying. So, first of all, passive studying is, for example, reading a textbook and taking notes while you're looking at the textbook. So, for example, I'm writing notes down and I'm just basically copying what's in the textbook. So, that's passive studying. So, I'm not really engaging my brain to try to memorize or understand the concept. So, that's passive studying because, again, I'm not really engaging my brain to memorize and to understand the concept. So an example of active studying would be I read the textbook. Let's say I read a section or a chapter about something, right? And then I close the textbook and then I take my notebook and then I take notes, remembering what I learned and writing down like what I understood reading that chapter without looking at it. And of course, like at the end, if I can't remember something or if I truly don't understand a concept, I would open the book back up, read that again, close it, and try to write that down in my own words. So when I'm taking notes like that with what I just explained, closing the textbook, writing down the content, the concept in my own words, in that case, my brain is engaged with memorizing and also understanding the concept. So I think of it, it's like you're working out your brain. If doing a difficult task like that, writing content, writing the notes in your own words, that is challenging. That is challenging for your brain. That is more challenging than just copying notes. And so when you're doing something like that, when you're rewriting something in your own words, that helps solidify the content and it stays in your brain for a much longer period of time. So that's an example of that's a technique that I really used during the pandemic, and also writing my own questions. So pretending like making my own exam, basically, like making my own questions, difficult questions. Looking at the PowerPoint notes, and then just predicting. Okay, this is the professor could ask a question about what are the components of the cell wall. So like that, I would make questions about that, really difficult questions, and later on, I would take my own exam. So that really helped me get used to the exam environment. So that really helped also as well, because when you write your own questions, again, that also engages your brain and also makes you think about what could be on the exam. And so adding on to that, so I guess this is more of a time management technique that really helped with studying, that really coincided with my active studying technique, was called the Pomodoro technique. And so what that is basically it's like a cycle. So for example, I spend 25 minutes studying, just focused on studying. And after those 25 minutes are up, I spend 5 minutes on a break, relax, and then I start again. So 25 minutes of studying, then a 5-minute break, and then so on. So that really helped me, one, understand the concept and the topic, and also to avoid the Zoom burnout. It helped alleviate the burnouts that I would experience prior to the pandemic. So those two as a combination, the Pomodoro technique and active studying, really helped me adjust to the conditions, and it made me a better student overall.
So for me personally, like I said before, I had the study buddy, and I really feel like she really helped me solidify some of my study habits. So holding ourselves accountable. But if you don't have a study buddy, I would also go on YouTube and type in the search bar, study with me, and a bunch of videos of people studying with the technique that Anthony explained, the Pomodoro technique. So they would be like studying for like 50 minutes and then having a break for 10 minutes or something like that in those videos. So when I don't have like a person, I would go on YouTube, search up study with me videos, and I would just have that in the background while I do my own work. And I would just follow the same routine as the person in the video, which really helped me held myself accountable, because it's hard sitting down and actually studying and being present in the information that you're consuming. And then the second thing that really helped me was knowing my assignments that's coming up. So like sitting down and reading the syllabus. And if you don't know what a syllabus, it's basically your holy paper where all your courses and assignments and deadlines are going to be. So you don't want to lose that paper or PDF, because you're going to need that. But I would sit down, get everything in that information, get everything on the syllabus and write it down in like Google Calendar, and make sure that I have these deadlines coming up. So being able to see all those deadlines and time block when I can actually study for these exams and quizzes help me establish like those habits to make me successful. And then like the last thing that I could think of was changing my mindset of how I want to approach studying. So like my whole high school career, and like a few months into my first year of college, I was like, to be effective in studying, I need to study for 8 hours a day. But but I soon realized that even though I studied 8 hours a day, I felt like I didn't digest a lot of that information than I would have if I did like a different method. So then it came down to how present I am during my study sessions. And like what Anthony mentioned, like his active and if you're passive, because being active in your studying can really help you digest and understand the information way more than if you just read a book for 8 hours.
Alyssa, you have mentioned that when you were in high school, you weren't very interactive with your teachers, and now you are trying to be more interactive. What motivated you to change your techniques from high school to college, and how has it helped you? Did it help you first semester, or did you see it more progressively to second semester?
So actually, that drive or that discipline to be like that different person from high school really came from the pandemic, since I had a lot of time for myself, and I was like, how can I change myself? Like, what didn't work in high school that I can make it work in university? Because I knew that the work was going to be way more rigorous, especially in my nursing courses. So I knew that I had to change a lot of these habits that wasn't really benefiting me much in high school. So I really sat down like during the summer when the whole pandemic was picking up, and I just reflected on myself, my mental health, who I was as a person, and made sure I could build my resiliency and become that person that I want to be. And also, university, it's like my first year, new people, new class. I was like, I'm gonna be this person that I could be that I wasn't before in high school. So it was just like a new chapter. And that's what kind of like drove me even further to try to be like the person I want to be.
The follow-up question that we will have is, I would like to ask, what advice would you give to high school seniors who are concerned about starting college during a pandemic?
Oh, so I would say, like, the advice I would give to seniors who are going to start, the school year, the first year in college, during a pandemic, I would say definitely, communicate with others, ask a lot of questions to other students, maybe upperclassmen, professors, to see, how their experience was. And I did that too. I asked my friends, and they provided me a lot of like great advice about how to how to things that you can do to help get through to help you get through the pandemic. So that's the first one, asking others, seeing how they handled, their situation during the pandemic, students older than you, for example. So that would be really helpful. Another piece of advice I would give is to remain optimistic, which is something that I had that mindset when I started my senior year as my last year at UC Berkeley. I maintained that positive mindset because I realized there were certain points where I was sometimes just so negative, where I said, "Oh, this isn't working out. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna give up." And I found out that that's not helpful at all. Having that mindset. And Alyssa mentioned this earlier. It's having that positive mindset is really helpful. So I I I I spent some time thinking to myself, having that having that positive mindset, which was really helpful because, you know, having that positive mindset, again, it's really helpful because when you have that optimistic attitude, you're able to, you know, you're able to move forward. And so also understanding that it's all going to be okay. You'll get through it, and just make sure you always ask questions, seek help from your friends, from your family. That would be my advice to seniors going into university. Just and also again, I just want to emphasize just having that positive mindset, being optimistic that everything's going to be okay, and that you can get through this.
Okay, so I have a couple advice that I would like to give rising seniors or rising freshmen going into college. The first one is, don't let imposter syndrome get to you. Like, take pride in your accomplishments. You got to where you are right now. You're taking an initiative to be here, to learn, to take advice, to seek help. So be proud of yourself. I think that's something that we don't really give ourselves credit for. And then the second one I want to say is to be resourceful. Like, make sure you're like researching your university and seeing what services or centers that they can offer for you. Like, for example, if you're a first gen student, look if your university has like a first gen center, because they have resources that help cater for specifically first gen students. If you're undocumented, look up if that your university has undocumented resources, because most likely these universities have these resources for you because you're paying for it as well. So you don't want to get your money down the drain because you're paying for it. And college is very, very expensive. And for example, Families in Schools is a great resource. Like if you check out their website, they have so many great articles, mental health tips, like scholarships, databases. Like if you haven't looked at their website, you're sleeping on it, because there's a bunch of amazing resources that you could utilize and help you in university. Also, my nonprofit, First Gen Empower, we help students figure out financial aid and how to navigate college and the community college transfer process, how to find scholarships and anything like that. So just being able to be resourceful and know where you can get information from will really help you in the long run. And then my last tip would be, like what Anthony said, like ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask, because you're closing doors of opportunities if you don't. And a prime example of this is before I went into my first year of college, I was like worried about the money. So what I did was I emailed financial aid office, and I was like, hey, I got into this school and this school, they're giving me this much money and you're giving me this much money. Do you think you can provide me more aid and more grants to really encourage me to go to your school? And they, after multiple emails back and forth, they were like, okay, here, I'm gonna give you this grant. So because I took that initiative to actually reach out and ask for more, because I know my worth and I know what I want, then you're opening yourself to a bunch of more new opportunities. So remember to don't let imposter syndrome get to you, because you're worthy of where you are right now. Be resourceful and don't be afraid to ask questions.
This would be a follow-up question for Anthony. What advice would you give for seniors being scared on being on their own during college?
Yeah, so advice to seniors being on their, scared of being on their own to college. So firstly, I would tell them that the feelings that they're experiencing is normal, and I don't want them to feel. I would tell them, don't be hard on yourself if you're feeling this way. If you're feeling scared, during these times, because it's normal, it's a natural thing. There's so many people going through it, so definitely don't be hard on yourself. Don't put yourself down. Definitely do not put yourself down. That they're scared or normal. That you're Don't put yourself down that you're scared. It's normal. Don't try to deny that you're not scared. So the follow up piece of advice I would tell them is to definitely seek out help, seek out friends, your friends or family members, and just tell them what you're going through. And so, because having that support system, that circle of friends and your family, for example, that's really helpful. Because they're gonna support you, they're gonna take care of you, they're gonna tell you that that you're gonna be fine. Just that positive affirmation. And so also, I would also my other piece of advice would be to, make new, also make new friends, meet new people, expand your circle. And I understand that, that might be a little bit intimidating, that might be a daunting task, and I've experienced that before myself too when I was in college. But everyone I've met is very friendly, very happy to meet you, to talk to you. So it's I would definitely say that that's important to expand your circle and network with other people. That's something that's really important. And again, most people are really friendly. At UC Berkeley, when I was at UC Berkeley, I was out there, I was getting to know other people, meeting new people. And honestly, UC Berkeley has been known to be very competitive, very cutthroat. Supposedly students are 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 very, very competitive towards each other, like not helpful towards each other, like not helping each other out. But when I was there, I made so many friends. I didn't encounter anyone that was competitive or that didn't want to help me. my friends too, they never encountered anyone that was aggressive or hostile towards them or me. So it's just, I believe that UC Berkeley's reputation, that cutthroat, that competitive, is just, it seems to me that it's just an exaggeration on the internet. So again, I just want to emphasize that most people are extremely friendly and they're more than happy to, interact with others. So I would say definitely, get out there, meet new people, and also, reach out to your friends and family, because so you can get that support system. So those are my pieces of advice.
Thank you, Anthony. Given the pandemic and the shift on how we interact with one another, how have you built community and supported one another? Alyssa, would you like to start?
So for me, there are three main communities that I wanted to build and stay intact with. So that was with my friends, like from high school, my family, and then like with my university, Mount St. Mary's University. So with my friends, I didn't want to lose touch with them. So what we did was we created, like, we went on an app and made like a hub where we can continue to talk to each other. The app is called Discord. I don't know if y'all have heard of it, but yeah, it's Discord. It's basically an app where you can create a server and then have a bunch of channels, and then you can just chat with each other and go on calls with each other without actually like ringing or exploding their phone and stuff like that. So sometimes I would just go on Discord, click on a voice call, and then I would just be sitting there sometimes doing like some study work, and then sometimes someone would show up and I'd be like, hey, how's it going? So it really created a space, kind of like the lunch area when I was in high school, where we go to when we just wanted to hang out. So that's how I kept in touch and built my community with my friends. So, and then with my university, I would attend social events and like attend club events and make sure I was interacting with the staff and keeping contacts with like their career services. I know my friend, she talked to like their psychological services. So that's one way you could build your community. So just being making sure and I'm talking to the staff and talking to other upperclassmen, like in events and social events and stuff like that. So, and then the last one was with my family, and I talked a little bit about it before, but basically I just like made sure we're establishing communication and we're talking about what we want. Especially like for me going into first year of college, I made sure I had everything that I needed, like the financial aid package, like reading it and any other requirements that I needed. And I would communicate that with my parents saying like, oh, this is what is going on in the coming months, and making sure they're just up to date with what I'm doing currently. Like, for example, I recently got into my nursing program and I have to get a bunch of like vaccines and drug testings, and making sure I'm just telling my parents that I need to do this, this, and that. And yeah.
Yes. So for me, so before the pandemic, I had my group of friends at Berkeley, and then after the pandemic, they weren't there because most of them, or actually all of them, stayed in their back home, in their local, they stayed in their local area, their homes basically. So in order to, basically how we supported each other is we had Zoom meetings where we had a chat. So like we would set up a time, like, hey, let's meet up on Friday at 5 o'clock p.m., go on Zoom, and we'll just have a chat, and we'll have um we could eat, eat, do whatever you want on there. So it would be like a virtual hangout. So me and my friends, we would talk about, we really love science, so we talk about, astronomy, we talk about space, about the I think the SpaceX, how they're building so many rockets, and they're just, they're really innovative. So just having those conversations and also having dinner, because before the pandemic, me and my friends, we used to go to the dining hall in UC Berkeley, one of the cafeterias. We would eat there, and so we would do the same thing, just move it to virtual settings. So we would get our food and then just eat and then have a chat. So it was very similar. So we would really try to mimic the conditions before the pandemic as close as we could, and so we did. And so that was really helpful, and that was a way that me and my friends built the community, and supporting each other too. We would tell each other, like, hey, how's it going in your classes? How are you doing? How's that going? Did you get used to how are you doing with, like, in terms of like getting settled with this situation, the pandemic? And so asking each other questions and how it's going. And so if any one of us was struggling, we would, support each other. So we would be that support system for each other, if that makes sense. Like if they're struggling, we would tell them, like, hey, it's going to be okay. Provide them advice, and also, provide them resources too. Like, for example, one of my friends was struggling with, I believe it was physics. He was taking a physics class, so I knew of this virtual tutoring center in UC Berkeley, so I gave him the link to that, and I sent it to him. And so along with that Zoom meeting, we also had like a separate social media group chat, for example, Facebook Messenger. So we would put all of our resources on that. So for example, like I would put that tutoring link on there so that they can see it, get back, like if they use it right and then they want to use it again, like let's say 2 weeks later, it'll be right there in the chat. So that's where we dumped all of our resources on there, put the links, all the important information. Also, since some of my friends were also in the same classes that I was in, we would also remind each other, like, hey, remember that there's office hours today, or hey, remember the assignment is due tonight, or in a week, for example. We wouldn't let each other know at the last minute. We would tell each other like a week early, not let them know at the last minute. So we would definitely be letting each other know about, when something was due, or don't forget to visit class today, or don't forget to visit this important meeting, office hours, a study session, discussion section. So yeah, basically it was, going on social media and also Zoom to, interact with each other and basically try to mimic what it was like before the pandemic in a virtual setting. And it worked out really well.
Before we wrap up, I would like to ask Alyssa and Anthony one last question. What has been the most valuable lesson you have learned while attending college in a pandemic, whether online or in person? Anthony, would you like to start?
Sure. So what was the most important lesson that I learned? I would say, for me, I would say the most important thing that I learned would be, I would say, is definitely reaching out to others. So, if I have a question, I would ask my friends or ask my professor, and or also reach out to my family. So just, I would say, like, reaching out was the most important thing for me, um, either virtual or in person, because I think that if I didn't do that, I would definitely be behind. I would have fallen behind, which a couple times I didn't ask a question, or I didn't reach out to my friends about a doubt that I had about a class, or what else I needed to graduate with. And so reaching out really helped clarify some things that I didn't know about. Or also, furthermore, I also want to add that is also just like networking. And by the way, networking is when you go out, you meet new people, and they sometimes might provide you, might tell you, hey, there's an opportunity, here. Why don't you think about applying for this? So I would say reaching out really correlates with networking, because again, when you're interacting with others, they might give you resources like, hey, there's this program that you might be interested in. Definitely apply for it, join it, or give you a direction to a certain resources that you're looking for. So yeah, I think that's something that was really helpful. And like, again, networking is something that is extremely important throughout anyone's life, throughout your life. So I would say that that's something that I learned that's really important to continue doing. So to continue reaching out, continue interacting, continue asking those questions, because someone might send you a valuable resources towards your way. So that's the most valuable thing I learned.
So the most valuable lesson that I learned while attending college, especially in a pandemic, would probably be, and I've mentioned this before, but is just being present in your life. I think while I was at home, it's so easy to clock out and consume so much media that you forget to live and exist in your life. So I saw this quote like dangling around in the internet, and it says, you only live once, but if you do it right, then you only need one. And ever since I saw that, I was like, oh, it clicked. Like that's basically the motto and lesson that I've learned like this past year, is just to be present in my life. And once I started to be present in studying, in how I study, like I mentioned before, being present in like the Zoom meetings and the events that I attend, and engaging and interacting with these amazing individuals, like right here, these folks right here, and back in my college, and like all the students that I've met, and being present has allowed me to meet so many amazing people and opportunities. So it's just being present and living your life has helped me, I guess, be successful mildly, but hopefully, yeah. And also, if anyone out there needs any help with any college advice or knowing how to be present or anything, you can always hit me up, message families in schools, my contact information, because I'll always be here. And First Gen Empower, the nonprofit, will always be here for you if you have any other questions as well.
Thank you for the panelists for being here today and sharing their journeys. And also thank you for the people watching. What I would like to add is what I found very interesting, what Anthony and Alyssa said, is of the method study, how to study for a few minutes or an hour and have like a break here and there, and to not study for long amounts of period because you won't be able to absorb what you were studying. And another thing is what I found interesting was how to reach out to people in your school and how to make your own community, and to not just be by yourself, to help yourself grow and help others succeed as well. But now I'd like to pass it on to Jessica Torres. She will have some announcement for us.
What an amazing conversation. Honestly, I couldn't help but smile the entire time, because this space is just filled with such amazing students who have so much to share. And it's such great advice that I knew I had when I was in college. So I'm so happy that they're able to share with you all here today. And actually, I wanted to quote Alyssa. Hopefully, I don't mess this up, but I loved her advice to be resourceful. Don't be afraid to ask questions and know your worth. That's so, so important. So thank you so much for sharing that, Alyssa. I love that. And overall, just a big thank you to Mireyari, Anthony, and Alyssa for just being so open and honest, and for sharing your journey with us. We wish you the very best in your college and career adventures. I know that we'll continue to stay connected. And I know that you'll just do such amazing things. So thank you so much for taking your time to be here with us today and just to share your story with the rest of the community who's watching. And then for those of you watching today, I hope you can join us on June 30th. We'll be having our second panel. And our second panel will be focusing on financial aid and the different ways students and families can pay for college. Families and students do not have to register. We'll be live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So go ahead and just log on to your social medias and go ahead and watch us on there live next in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today on June 30th from 5 to 6 p.m. And also as a reminder, these panels will be recorded and they will be on our website at familiesandschools.org. So feel free to reference back to them whenever you would like to, also to share with your network and your students in your life. Feel free to share as much as you'd like. If you would like more information about Passport to Success, visit us at bit.ly/PTS Scholar, and you'll find all information on there as to how to register. Any questions you may have, you can feel free to reach out to us. Once again, thank you to our amazing panelists and our moderator for just sharing your stories. We really appreciate you. And you just have such important richness to share, and we really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone. Hope you all have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks on June 30th. Thank you. Feel free to visit